Hello everyone, welcome to Ladang World. Today we talk about Martin Luther and Martin Luther King. These two names are very similar, sometimes confusing, yet actually they live in different times separated from 400 years. Martin Luther is the initiator of religious reformation in Europe in 16th century, equivalent to midterm of China's Ming Dynasty. Martin Luther King is the U.S. civil rights leader in 1950s to 60s, whose famous speech is "I have a dream." Martin Luther was born on November 10, 1483, in Duchy of Saxony, Holy Roman Empire, the north of current Germany. His father is Hans Luther, a miner, and then a mine owner. His mother is Margareta, a pious Catholic. On November 11th, the second day after his birth, was Europeans' traditional holiday, St. Martin's Day. He was baptized that day and was given the name as Martin Luther. That St. Martin's Day is to commemorate a Christian named as Martin, that in 4th century. As a legend, Martin was a cavalry soldier from Hungary, garrisoned at Gaul, the current France. In one winter, a chilly, snowing day, that he rode by the gate of town, and seeing a beggar in rags, almost dying in harsh weather. He put his sword and cut his mantle into halves, and gave the one half to the beggar. At the same night, and he had a dream and saw Jesus Christ revealed to him, and with the half mantle on him. Later, Martin resigned from military and went into a monastery, finally, and became a bishop in Tours district. After his death, people in Europe began to celebrate St. Martin's Day in his name. It started from November and lasts for over 40 days, with children playing around in the town with lanterns in hands, and then every family prepared traditional meal of roast goose, very similar to the current American holidays like Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. Later, the mantle or cloak that St. Martin cut became sanctified as a relic and maintained in the treasure of the church, with priest as its keeper. And the English word chaplain originated from this story. Martin Luther King was born on January 15, 1929, in Atlanta, Georgia, initially with the name of Michael King Jr. His father was Michael King Sr., pastor of local church. His mother was Alberta. In 1934, Michael King Sr. Went to Berlin for the 5th World Baptist Convention, deeply touched by the story of Martin Luther, and decided to change his name as Martin Luther King Sr. And his 5-year-old son, Michael King Jr., became as Martin Luther King Jr. Education and development. Martin Luther began his schooling at 6 with learning Latin, Greek, and music, later also with rhetoric and logic. His father hoped him to be a successful lawyer one day. In 1501, when he was 17, he enrolled in Oxford University. In 1505, he planned for further PhD study after graduation. Then at this time, something particular that happened to him and changed his life. It's one day in July, on the way he rode back to school. It rained heavily and a thunder lightning struck by his side. He was scared and prayed if he could survive, he would serve in a monastery as a monk for the whole life. Soon after, he did so as he prayed, regardless of his father's opposition, and underwent a life of asceticism, worship, and Bible study. In 1507, he was promoted to a pastor and got a master's degree in a seminary the next year. In 1512, when he was 29, he earned his PhD degree in theology and began to teach at the University of Wittenberg. At the same time, as a vicar, took care of the dozen local monasteries. Martin Luther King was raised up in the church and followed his parents to church to worship, yet with some doubts to the teaching of Christianity. As a kid, he also played with neighbors' white boys like friends, yet they got separated when they got different schools due to the segregation. And the parents of the white families discouraged the kids' father getting together. In the later days when he grew up, the Martin Luther King Jr. was often mistreated with racial discrimination, unable to share the same rights with whites. So to which the young Martin Luther King often fostered hatred, yet his parents taught him to love the neighbors rather than to hate. In 1944, at the age of 15, he enrolled in the Morehouse College and earned his bachelor degree in sociology. When he graduated in 1948, later he entered Boston Seminary, and in 1955, at the age of 26, Martin Luther King got his PhD degree in theology and worked as a pastor of a Baptist church at Montgomery, Alabama. The process of struggle. Martin Luther had been a very pious Catholic and always prayed to God for his sin forgiven. In 1510, he had an opportunity to Rome to see the Pope for the issue of meditation. Yet he was very disappointed to Pope's carelessness and the corruption of the church, especially when Vatican peddled around the indulgences in the name of maintenance of Peter Basilica, claiming the purchase of indulgences could redeem the saints and save souls from purgatory. Martin Luther blamed the indulgences for violation of the teaching of the Bible. And on October 31st, 1517, he posted his protest, the 95 Theses, at the door of Wittenberg Church that challenged to the papacy in Rome. The Pope Leo X and the Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, Charles V, asked Martin Luther to recant, otherwise he would be excommunicated. In the following debate at Worms, and Martin Luther fearlessly defended his belief with the words from the book of Romans in the Bible: "For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God, and are justified freely by His grace through the redemption that came by Christ Jesus. For in the gospel, righteousness from God is revealed, a righteousness that is from faith to faith, just as it is written, the righteous will live by faith." Martin Luther King had been engaged in the civil rights movement for equality of the colored people. In December 1955, at Montgomery, Alabama, a black lady, Rosa Parks, was jailed based on Jim Crow law and due to her refusal to give the seat to the white people on the bus. Martin Luther King called the local blacks to protest and boycott the bus transportation, which lasted for 385 days, during which he was arrested and his home was bombed. Finally, by the verdict of the U.S. Federal District Court, the Alabama segregation policy on the bus violates the federal law and should be terminated, and the blacks win the battle. Martin Luther King was later elected as the chairperson of the South Christian Leader Conference and supported the civil rights protests around America. Especially on August 28, 1963, he organized the March to Washington parade with totally 250,000 attended the gathering in front of the Lincoln Memorial, and he made the famous speech, "I have a dream, that a dream based on American dream, that all men are created equal, in a nation that a person cannot be judged by his color of skin, but by the content of his personality. And in a day, we will be free at last." A far-reaching impact. After his being excommunicated, Martin Luther still published many articles expounding about Bible and the church. More importantly, he devoted himself to translate the Bible from Latin to populist German. Very helpful for the further German reunification. The Reformation by Martin Luther brought further revolution and wars in Europe, with the New Protestants gradually dominated in Europe except in France and Spain, and the further immigrants to American colonies for religious freedom. Martin Luther's beliefs and his followers later were called Lutheran sect or Lutheranism, insisting justification by faith alone. Every believer as a priest, which is still very influential in Europe and America. Martin Luther King had been committed to civil rights movement with hardship and sufferings. He had been jailed for totally 29 times. With his effort, U.S. government passed the Civil Rights Act and the Fair Housing Act. Some progresses had been made. At that time, America was bogged in the Vietnam War. Martin Luther King blamed Washington for squandering the tremendous resources in foreign war, yet ignoring domestic poverty and injustice. He called the war as the cruelest and the dirtiest war in American history, which aroused panic and hatred of the racist and the right wings. On April 4th, 1968, Martin Luther King was murdered in Tennessee at his age of 39 when he came to support the local protest. His death caused parades and riots nationwide. Martin Luther King was rewarded a Nobel Prize for Peace in 1964, and later in 1986, a national holiday in his name was honored. In Washington, Martin Luther King monument has been erected, and in more than 730 cities of America, many streets are named in his name. Martin Luther and Martin Luther King are both good examples for insisting on the faith in truth, social progress, justice, and righteousness, and even if in their hardship and peril. Here comes the end of today's program, and thank you for your watching, and see you next time. Thank you. Bye.